All right, hello everyone. In this episode, we'll be talking about one of the most important characters in the entire Avatar series, the Cabbage Merchant, and how he was secretly Ko, the face-stealing demon in disguise. Sorry. My mistake. That's the next episode. This episode, we'll actually be talking about Prince Zuko, the angsty, banished fire prince who grew into one of the best characters in Avatar. But what exactly about his arc made him such a fan favorite? Join us as we break down Zuko's character arc season by season as we discuss his fantastic journey from conflicted villain to good guy Zuko. I am joined today by my good friend Paul. Paul, how you doing today?
Zuko here. Hey, how are you doing? I'm excited to be on talking about one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, actually.
We're going to start off by talking about Zuko Season 1, and boy, oh boy, how he changed from the first time that we saw him. I mean, at first he was just this angry, ponytailed, passionate brat who was after one thing, to capture the Avatar, to restore his honor.
Man. That honor.
You need that honor.
Yeah, it's a crazy... He starts out as basically the way they portray him in the Ember Island Players episode, as like this this absolute, almost like caricature of like a teen angsty villain who is after one single pursuit. And no one, I mean, at the beginning, no one believes that the Avatar is even alive, so it seems preposterous. You know, it feels like this wild goose chase he's being sent on. And then it becomes something much more real, and it becomes his entire life. He's consumed by this pursuit of Aang and trying to bring him back to his father.
As you peel back the layers to Zuko as it goes on, you realize like why he has to find the Avatar, why he has to believe that the Avatar is still out there, because that is the only way he's going to get back to, you know, his home, his father, and his rightful place on the throne.
And there's no real reason for him to believe the Avatar is alive. He hasn't really discovered any proof. He honestly ended up being really fortunate because it comes off as him being so desperate, and I don't think the Fire Lord really expected him to even see, let alone bring him home the Avatar.
Yeah.
So it is like he kind of like totally stumbles into he just happens to be in the right part of the waters in the South Pole and see that glowing light in the sky. So
I will say that has always been like my one problem with the show, like from a logical standpoint of why Zuko was there. Like, just kind of searching for the Avatar in that area, then all of a sudden, boom, the Avatar's there.
I think, to an extent, I think that the theme of destiny is really strong, and they're clearly so tied together, those two, as their entire lives kind of showed. It always sort of made sense to me that he was around there. Like, that's why he's there and other Fire Nation people aren't, is he's willing to go the lengths that other people aren't, going all the way to the South Pole. Other Fire Nation like members are not looking for the Avatar that vociferously, you know, like he's the only one that's that dedicated, and that is a symbol of his dedication, is him being in the cold where no one else is willing to go to try to find the Avatar. And that's what ends up leading him to the Avatar.
I think the reason why we love Zuko so much in his character arc is because he had a great mentor like Iroh, the one who wasn't just totally, this is what you have to do, but Zuko's more like, Zuko, I know you're mad and I know you're angsty, but I'm still going to let you do what you think is right, but like kind of push you in the right direction. But overall, you need to find your own path on your own. And I think that's like...
It's like a swimming instructor. Iroh pushes him out into the pool, but Zuko has to be able to paddle on his own. And I think Iroh realizes that the only way that his change is going to be meaningful and long-lasting is if he makes the choices himself. Iroh cannot make those choices for him. And that's what gives him the agency to make his arc matter. That's why him transforming feels so powerful and means so much to us, is because he's the one that ultimately has to make those decisions. And he has to go through hardships. He makes poor decisions, you know, initially, especially without Iroh's guidance. But then he is the one that makes the choices that make him a good person. And that's why that stuff matters.
And that's tough to watch, especially in that first season where Zuko is just, he's kind of pretty mean to Iroh, like a lot of the times. Like he's just like watching those first episodes, he's yelling at him all the time of just like, I gotta find him. Like, you gotta do this now. You're coming with me. And from an audience perspective, when you're watching that for the first time, you're just like, he's an obsessive villain, right? Like that's just all he is. And he's a bad guy. But, and you're like, why does Iroh put up with it? And later on, you kind of learn that Iroh knows that he's not angry because he's angry. He's angry because he's so conflicted on the inside and is struggling to find his way in the world. And that's just so dang beautiful.
And he spends the entire first half of the season as this insufferable bad guy. And it's not until we get to the storm, which I want to say is episode 12 of season 1. But that's when you really learn that there is like a direct source of this darkness. And you can draw a line between the trauma that happened to him as a child and the person he is now. And until we see that backstory told through, to his crew members through Iroh, we don't understand why he's like that at all.
Exactly. I think episode 12, which is The Storm, is just a complete turning point for the show overall. But it's so interesting because at that point, we've established Zuko as the villain. I'll skip ahead just to a bit to season 2 when like Katara, when they're in the cave and Katara says, when I imagine the Fire Nation, I imagine your face. And after 12 episodes of seeing Zuko relentlessly hunt Aang, it's like, that's what we think too, that he is the face of the Fire Nation. When we think of the Fire Nation, we think of Zuko at that time. So for the Storm to just totally pivot on that and realize that, yes, this character has depth. This character has a reason for his anger and for his for everything about his life is just brings the show to, I think, the next level. How does The Storm rank in terms of episodes of season 1?
That is my favorite, I think, because it ties Aang and Zuko's destinies so closely together. It identifies them as sort of these two forces who are in this sort of weird dance, as we see that more literally later on. But you see that Zuko is there not necessarily because of any malice or mistakes. And Aang made mistakes just like Zuko did. He just wasn't punished necessarily for them in the same way. It's both of them have a lot in common. They have this pressure to avenge the mistakes they made as children.
Yeah, and I think at this stage too, I think it's interesting because we think that Zuko is this obsessive force to begin with, and he's kind of crazy and mean and he's bad. But like then throughout season 1, we kind of get introduced to someone who's actually super obsessive to the point of being dangerous, and that's Zhao. He who turns out to be really the main villain of the season going forward. And just to see him juxtaposed with Zuko, to see like, oh, wait, this is a bad guy. Like this is someone who's like an actual threat and who's actually a villain, also helps in shade Zuko in terms of his character, in terms of how much we can relate to him and just how much he has going against him. Because yeah, he has to fight Team Avatar all the time, but it's like he's also fighting his entire nation. Because he has nobody in his corner except for Iroh, and at this stage, Zuko
even his own crew, his own crew doesn't even like him. They leave at a moment's notice, essentially. Like almost any opportunity they get, they jump ship, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, a lot of people's favorite part of like Zuko's character in season 1 is like the Blue Spirit episode. I love this episode too. I think I'll start saying that a lot. It's like this episode's my favorite episode when I realized I think I like a lot of the episodes in season 1. So basically, we see Zuko rescue Aang from Zhao, and he did it because he wants to capture him himself. But I think it leads to, like, I was about to say my favorite again, one of the best conversations in season 1, which is in between Aang and Zuko. And then Aang basically says to him, do you think that we could be friends? And then Zuko automatically attacks him.
This is another time which is something we'll see throughout the show, is people extending olive branches and Zuko not knowing how to respond. I don't know if it's necessarily that he hates Aang and doesn't want him to be a part of his life. He just doesn't understand how to cope with that kind of relationship, which is why his behavior is seen as so strange. People try to help him and to be friendly to him, and he doesn't know what that's like because he spent most of his childhood with like one of the most abusive like sister-father pairings you've ever seen in anything ever. Like they're so bad.
You don't see that too often. The classic sister-father abusive pairing.
It's crazy that Zuko has dealt with all of that. But that's why, again, it's why when Aang asks him if they can be friends, he doesn't know how to respond, so he just shoots fire at him, which is kind of the main thing he knows how to do. That's how he responds to most situations, is shoot fire at it.
I wish I could solve all my problems that way. It's like, I don't know how to respond to something, I'm just going to shoot a fireball.
I just had this thought that it's interesting because the reason that he has the scar is because he was unwilling to shoot fire at his father. He was unwilling to attack. And from then on out, the way he responds to things is by attacking. And he doesn't, you wonder if he doesn't want that to happen again, which is why he's so openly defensive of people trying to extend an olive branches. Comes with that aggressive response because he doesn't want to be burned again.
Yeah, literally. That is a great point. That's something I never thought of, but that's just another fascinating layer to Zuko's character overall. He's funny, I think, in the season 1 finale because of his plan to capture Aang in the North Pole, because I have no idea what his plan was, besides just he got really lucky that Aang was in a meditative state after, almost freezing to death, and then after he captures Aang, he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna start walking in the snow a little bit. What am I gonna do here?
Well, I think they really sell that desperation because of how he feels so abandoned by everything. He has no crew, no ship after those pirates burn his ship down. And he really is kind of out of options, it seems like, which is what drives him, I think, to act so irrationally at the North Pole. That's why he takes Aang, and he doesn't know where else to go. He doesn't want to go in the direction of Zhao and have Zhao take all the credit for this one thing that could bring him salvation in his mind. So that's why he just goes the opposite way. And I don't know if he was hoping to just keep going north until he was back south, like the other way around the world. I'm not entirely sure what his plan was, but I don't think he operated in this point of the show with a plan. I think he acted entirely on instinct. And that is why that desperation feels so real, is because he's kind of backed himself into a corner, because it would be tough for him to be friends with Aang and company after all the things he's done to them before that. And then he, it seems like Zhao is not an option. The Fire Nation is kind of rejecting him. So the Avatar is this sort of golden egg that he wants to preserve, and through any means necessary. I don't think, he had any idea what he wanted to do, but, what else is he going to do at that point? He really has no clue where to turn from there.
All right, so then Zuko's in a complete kind of new territory in season 2. We're going to move on to season 2 for a bit here, even though I could talk about season 1 for quite a long time. Season 2 is probably my favorite Zuko, because I think it's where Zuko goes through the most changes, kind of both forward and backward. Like we see him make great steps forward, but then we'll see him crash and burn like quite a few times of just like by following old patterns. And that's such a mature choice for a show to have a character on a path to eventual goodness, because at this point we kind of realize it's like, all right, we know who the real villains are here. It's clearly this crazy psycho Azula, and it's Fire Lord Ozai, and Zuko is not as bad as we thought he was. So now we're kind of rooting. We're on Zuko's side.
Well, I think he's really helped by the introduction of Azula, and to have someone come in that is clearly worse than him, and also the way that she brings back all of that trauma from his past. I think that's a good way to set up this slow arc that we have with Zuko.
There's a few episodes where they kind of see the result of the war, of the Fire Nation's attack on the world, and how traumatizing it is for a lot of people. And I think that's a super important part of changing Zuko's mindset. He knows that the Fire Nation is probably wrong, but he doesn't know what's right and wrong for himself yet, and he doesn't know where he stands on the whole thing, which of course is probably the best thing, his split from Iroh, that where he realizes it's like, I need to go on my own for like a little bit because we probably shouldn't travel together, and that's heartbreaking. But that leads to probably one of the best, if not the best Zuko episode. It's Zuko Alone, where we once again, just like the storm, peel back the curtain onto like what made Zuko and realize of how much trauma he has, which leads to the great finale of him accepting the fact that, because like throughout the whole episode, he's hiding who he is, and he doesn't want to show that he's a firebender. But in the end, he's like, I am Prince Zuko. That is who I am. Like that is my identity. And his reward for being true to himself is to be shunned from the town. That's so heartbreaking for the guy.
I think that, like, for me, Zuko Alone is one of my, like, 3 favorite episodes of the entire show, I think. Part of it, I think it's so cool that it turns into this like, mini Western. It almost feels like a Clint Eastwood movie in Avatar. But then, again, it echoes back to that moment where he ends up in the Agni Kai with his father, because what happens in both instances is he goes out of his way to try to help other people and be selfless. Like, the reason his father punished him is because he was speaking out against a plan to sacrifice these young soldiers for the sake of a military advantage. And he didn't want those people to be hurt when they had no idea what they're going into. And he tries to help this kid and defends him against the town bullies, but he's resoundingly rejected for both. And I think that teaches him this negative lesson of, when you're selfless and give up like what you desire for other people's better like well-being, you're going to be punished for it, and you're going to be hurt and attacked. And that's season 2 is when you see his character really expand and become something a lot more complex. And that's where his character really becomes like, it reaches that next level, I think.
Yeah. So after he gets through all this good stuff and where he starts to become a good person, he learns the Avatar's in town, and he's forced to, and everything he did, what does he do? He backslides. He dons the blue spirit persona, and he goes after Appa. He finds Appa much faster than Aang did, and just like goes and he gets them, and then that is his true choice. Iroh says in the season 2 finale, it's like you're at the crossroads of your destiny, like at that moment. But I always thought the crossroads of his destiny was really that moment right there, because he has the choice, and he's confronted with the idea that Iroh like yells at him, it's just like, is this the destiny that you want, or is this the destiny that somebody else is forcing upon you? What are you gonna do about it, Zuko? It's like. And so I think that's the angriest and like most upfront we've seen Iroh to Zuko before.
It feels so almost out of character, but that's what shocks him, I think, into making a decision and cutting Appa loose is Iroh being so upfront.
So yeah, again, he has his big moment. He has his change. He gets like spirit sick, where he's like tormented and he doesn't know Because like which side of him
does a good deed and his body is like, no, we will not let you do this good deed. We will punish you. And he has to deal with on it. Like he's being attacked by all sides, and even his own body is like in on the fight, which kind of feels unfair to Zuko a little.
But he comes out of it such a different character, and you think for a second, just like, wow, is this Zuko from now on? Like, is this him? Like he's just happy-go-lucky. He's doing what could classify as smiling, like because it's like the happiest we've seen him.
Until like 5 minutes later, when suddenly he's in prison and everything is horrible.
Yeah, then everything is awful. We get that one moment of bliss. Because again, he makes probably the stupid choice. Again, he makes a lot of stupid choices or conflicted choices here, but it's like after Iroh's totally awesome moment of the Dragon of the West and they escape, what does Zuko do? He's like, no, I need to stop running. I need to face Azula and end this. And then so he does that because he thinks it's the honorable thing to do. And Azula immediately cheats and captures him with the Dai Li, I think. Is that
yeah. Yeah. And then he gets put in prison, and I think that's a big moment too, is his time spent with Katara, because that is another one of these great fake outs of it feels like that's the moment where he's going to turn good. He's spending time with Katara. They're relating. There's almost some hints at like a potential romance between the two of them. Like you don't really know what's going on. And then that turns again in the finale, which is like baiting you. You think you're going to get exactly what you want. And then it pulls the rug out from under you again. And that's what makes it so devastating in the finale when Zuko teams up with Azula to take on Team Avatar.
And he sides with Azula and he helps to capture. And the most heartbreaking moment is Iroh, because when he comes in, he fights, he lets them escape. And then what does he do? Does he fight? Does he stay in? Nope. He gives up completely. He lets himself be captured.
That
just
look
because
of disappointment when he gets put in the crystals, it's like so devastating.
So I get chills just thinking about it. It's so sad. And this was a very interesting place as we go into season 3, because we easily could have had Zuko turn into a good guy at the end of season 2. It dabbled with the fact that it gave Zuko exactly what he wanted. I literally have everything. It's like, why am I still so angry and conflicted inside?
I think a big part though of his season 3 struggle is his feelings of what happened with him and Iroh. That's why he can't enjoy it, I think, to an extent, is that separation from the person who his happiness in the last season or so was so tied to whether him and Iroh were in good spirits, whether things were going well with them. He just doesn't have the life that he wants, and he's not fulfilled in the way that he wants.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about bad guy Zuko throughout most of this episode. So now I want to switch to the back half of season 3, which is good guy Zuko. To see him fully come to terms in the Eclipse invasion.
The invasion of Black Sun, yeah.
Yeah, the invasion of Black Sun, right. So it's like that showdown with his father where he's calmer than we've ever seen him because he finally knows what's right. He even does the mature thing of just like, I'm not going to stop you and fight you here because that's the Avatar's destiny.
I think the important thing there is there's that moment where he's shot with lightning that he thinks about firing it back at his father, but he makes the choice not to. And I think that is so interesting because that decision he makes there and what he tells his father is so in line with Iroh. Because we see a few episodes later when they're trying to convince Iroh to face him and defeat him, Iroh says that, history and most people would just see this as a power-hungry brother killing another brother.
Yep.
And it's not about, just defeating the bad guy, but it's also how you defeat him. And it has to be the Avatar, because the Avatar is the symbol of unity and hope and balance. And that's something that Zuko and Iroh both understand.
Absolutely. And it's such a short conversation, but it's such a well-rounded conversation, because not only do we get his change of character about like what he feels and what he knows is right, but he also understands the danger of the Fire Nation overall, like the effect of the war. He throws in what I said earlier, just like he throws in the fact that the Fire Nation was supposed to be the greatest in the world, but we're conquerors, we're like the bad guys. So his character is like a complete change. Like this is everything we wanted from Zuko. Zuko's speech, just like Zuko here,
It's one of the funniest. That entire monologue when he impersonates Iroh and he's like, "You must look within yourself to find yourself because you're self." That's like one of the funniest moments of the entire show.
Yeah, he's like, even when I'm speaking for him, I don't understand what he means.
Yeah, exactly. But that's an example of he's so bad at being good. You see him try to get back with them, and then he burns them literally.
And then we get, I think, a great arc, which is just like, it's the individual episodes. So out of where everyone kind of learns a valuable lesson except for Toph.
Well, they walk on the beach together and she learns not much, but
yeah, she learns not much. Okay, so I'm asking you, rank them. Aang, Katara, Sokka. How do you rank their interactions?
I think for me, the Boiling Rock is my favorite. That's one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. I love the vibe of like a prison escape kind of story within the story. And then I think the Aang one is probably my second favorite. I think it's cool because it sets up sort of their connection to fire and how that's different. And as much, I do like the Katara one. I think the other two hit a little harder for me.
I agree. I think Boiling Rock is like, if there's an episode, if I want to sit down on a Saturday night and watch Avatar, it's like, I'll probably put on Boiling Rock because that's just a perfect 2-part episode.
The best Zuko line, too, in the history of the show, obviously.
Obviously.
The iconic, that's rough, buddy.
That's rough, buddy. The one that's used 1,000 times. No matter how many times I've watched that scene, it's such a simple scene, too. Like, just on paper, it's like, it's not even that funny. Like, it's like, I don't, like, if you read it, it's like, that's not great. But for some reason, that moment is like the best Avatar moment ever. And I don't know why. But I guess we should talk more about the finale, which is the fight with Azula. You have the final showdown. You know, it's like an Agni Kai. It's not Zuko triumphing over Azula. It's Zuko being a good guy and it's sacrificing himself to save Katara. Which is just, I think, a better a better ending for his arc. I think there's a moment, it's like, you could have played with the fact that Zuko could have died right there, and it still would have been a good conclusion to his arc. I'm glad he survived, of course. Yeah. But for him to sacrifice himself for somebody else so willingly and so easily, it's just the perfect bookend to everything we've seen before. If you go back to the very first episode where he's yelling at Iroh about his honor and he needs to get it back, all the way to the end where he's literally diving in front of a lightning bolt to save Katara, is fantastic. Oh man, and that just and after everything, it feels so earned, right? Like we went through a long journey.
Yeah,
with
when that
Zuko.
Crown goes on his head, it just feels right. It feels like everything has led to that moment.
And that's the mark of a good show. It's just it didn't take any shortcuts. It didn't take any, easy way out. It challenged Zuko in ways that nobody should in a cartoon be challenged. Okay, we've talked about Zuko for a bit. I think we like the Zuko character. Just a little
what
bit.
Gave that away. Yeah, shout out Dante Bosco. Great voice work.
Dante Bosco, I'm sure you're listening to this. We like you a lot. Thank you all so much for joining us in this Zuko-focused Avatar episode of CBR Saga. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let us know in the comments what other topics you want us to discuss. I would like to thank Paul very much for being on here with me. Paul, thank you.
For having me. Yeah, thank you.
Of course, and we'll be back next time with another awesome episode. Thank you so much, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Flame yo hot, man.